So, for the first time in, well, forever, the Alliance and the Horde got together, negotiated, and formally ended the Fourth War under the agreement of a new armistice. Now, the armistice itself isn't something that's new. We've known about it since the end of 8.3, but we didn't know what it detailed. Besides, ending the war. But with the release of Shadows Rising and a data mine of info from the Shadowlands beta, we got some much needed clarity on what exactly the two sides signed and how it'll affect them going forward. So this video is going to go over what we know about the Armistice Treaty between the Alliance and the Horde, but I should say I am certain we don't know everything. While certain pieces of dialogue from the beta and Shadows Rising gave us broad strokes for some of the treaty's big terms, I'm sure there are things written in the deal that have not yet been outright stated. So I will be speculating on some of those things after I tell you what we know, but before we can get into any of that, I have to make sure you understand something because it is very important. The Alliance and the Horde signed an armistice. An armistice, simply put, is an agreement between rivals to stop fighting that usually predates an official treaty between two warring nations because official treaties of peace take a very, very long time to ratify. But in the event that a war does come to an end and an armistice is signed, there is always a winner and a loser. So when it comes to this treaty, when it comes to the Fourth War, the Horde, they lost. They lost on every front, they lost on every battlefield, they lost the will of the people, nearly had another rebellion, and they were, once again, schooled by the Alliance in modern Azerothian warfare. So that being said, most of everything agreed upon in the treaty favors the Alliance because, well, they're the technical victors. The Horde is in no position to make demands or they risk another reinitiation of war, and that is the last thing anyone wants. But that's not to say the terms weren't fair. Under the treaty, under what we know about it, one of the terms is that the Horde is to completely withdraw from Arathi, Darkshore, and Kul Tiras, but the Alliance must then withdraw from their holdings around Zandalar and make sure none of their personnel set foot on the island, or it will be considered an act of aggression. In my opinion, that is pretty fair to everyone except the people who want Sethrak as a playable race for the Alliance. I'm sorry, my friends, but unless there's another war or the Sethrak decide to abandon their homeland, they won't be throwing on the blue and gold anytime soon. Now, the Alliance could have easily kept their holdings on Zandalar and policed the island to make sure the Horde or the Zandalari weren't doing anything shady, but a move like that would have kept tensions with their rival at an all-time high during a time when that's not really recommended. Again, the armistice is as bipartisan as an Azerothian treaty can get, as neither side really wanted to continue killing each other. But that is not everything we have. Along with the Horde's removal from Arathi, the Alliance retains full control over occupied Lordaeron. We learned this from a portion of dialogue in Shadows Rising where it is said that the Alliance fleet, whatever remains of it, will attack any Horde-aligned vessel in the vicinity of the continent. While it doesn't directly tell us the reason why this is the case, the Alliance did successfully recapture most of the land beyond the Thandal span, including Tirisfal Glades during the war, and the only reason they would openly engage with the Horde over it is if they intended to keep it. Now, whether or not this stays the norm and is the thing that happens once there's an official treaty, your guess is as good as mine, but it could be something stated during talks as a counterposition to the Horde's ban on Alliance personnel on Zandalar. But again, that is not all there is. Lastly, one of the biggest reasons for the treaty, the only reason the war ended the way it did, Sylvanas. Sylvanas brought about the war between the Alliance and the Horde and used them in an elaborate game of chess that we still really don't understand. But with her abrupt departure from the Horde, both sides of the fight agreed that she is the real threat. Much like the Legion, much like the Scourge, much like the Iron Horde, she is the third-party enemy that will keep the two locked in a relative truce until she is dealt with. Independently but cooperatively, the Alliance and the Horde have decided to hunt down the Banshee Queen and bring her to justice for all the atrocities she committed. Let me reiterate once again that this is really the only thing keeping the two from going to war. Now, whether or not this treaty will be upheld even after she is defeated, well, that has yet to be seen. Already, some of the terms of the treaty have been breached by the likes of Matthias Shaw during the hunt for Sylvanas, who stepped foot on Zandalar and nearly became a catalyst for another faction war. But luckily, the two sides did negotiate and ease the breach in treaty through diplomacy rather than war. That is important to note because it shows just how much the two sides are trying to change their ways, even when still, after everything they've gone through, the possibility of war is just as certain as the sun rising. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns regarding this video, Warcraft, or its lore, you can leave them in the comment section down below, and I'll be sure to read each and every one of them. Thanks for watching.